Professor Dr. Sanjay Sharma, who is going to be the speaker for and the resource person for the session to come up. Just to give his brief introduction, he is a professor and head Department of Chemistry at JECRC University, Jaipur, India. He is a well-known author and editor of many of the books, research journals, and innumerable articles with an experience of more than 20 years in this particular field. He has written 20 books in chemistry, which is at the international and national levels. He has more than 100 research papers to his credit. He is a series editor of Springer topic Green Chemistry, and his areas of research are water pollution, corrosion inhibition, and biopolymers. So, with this brief introduction and with this kind of an introduction, I welcome Professor Dr. Sanjay Sharma.
Okay, first of all, I must thank all the participants, all the organizers. Participants can have a quick break of 2 minutes if they want. They want to, take water or something else. You just take 2 minutes gap, and then we'll start. Meanwhile, as I just told a few minutes back, that this time is very important time for students community, students as well as teachers, because both this community, both this type of people, students, especially research scholars, they are having a good time. 24 into 7, it is too much time. Nobody can expect more than that in a day. So you all have a very good time. So you can utilize it intelligently for designing your research, for working on your synopsis, working on your papers, research papers, working on your thesis reports, or on some project reports. So there are so many things to do. And as you all know, because the teachers, many teachers are there listening me, one research paper is useful for many people. It is immediately useful for the author who is writing, author or authors. It is useful for the organization from where they are, or from where they conducted the work, research work. And the third one is the community at large. When you talk about accreditation or NIF gradings or NAC gradings and all these international parameters, which is quite important nowadays for an institution as well as for a course or for any college or university. At that time, research publications play a big role. And what the quality of those papers, what the quality and content of those papers, it matters a lot. So the quality is directly proportional to your efforts. If you put more efforts, the quality of your paper will be better. If you put less efforts, if you take it casually, if you just copy and paste and submit the papers, then it would reflect in your credential or in your quality of publication. So today we'll discuss few points which are important for the writing point of view, research writing point of view, and we'll discuss some misconducts. Misconducts, many times we knowingly do it, or many times unknowingly it happens. So we will discuss such misconducts today, and I'm sure students, research scholars who are connected right now, they will be surely benefited by today's interaction. Meanwhile, if you have any question, you please drop the question in the chat box. Whatever will be possible, I'll try to answer. So now I'm going to share the screen. So we are discussing that what is research. Research is you please minimize all these screens. Is a careful investigation or inquiry, specifically through search for new facts in any branch of knowledge, or it is an original contribution, experimentation to the existing stock of knowledge, making for its advancement. Or it can simply be defined a task of searching from available data to modify a certain result or theory. So this is research, and if we categorize research in some specific broad categories, there are two main categories only. One is pure research, which is based on a very important question, why things happen. It is a fundamental question, why things happen. And it makes the one category, the first category, the foremost category of the research. And the second one is the applied research, which depends on the question how things happen. So all the research, irrespective of any subject, any branch, any domain area, all the research you can divide in these two categories only. One is fundamental research and other one is applied research. One is the answer of why things happen and other is the answer of how things happen. Second thing, why we do research? What make people do research? Because the first and foremost reason is desire to get a higher degree. It may be MTech, MS, PhD, whatever. Some people desire to solve unsolved and challenging problems. Some have desire to get intellectual joy of doing creative work. Some have desire to be of service to the society, desire for innovation, or desire to be a successful career. So there are so many reasons, but the most important reason, because most of the crowd connected this time is the students, research scholars, or early career professionals. So the desire of getting a higher degree is the main purpose of research. And when you start research, you should have some certain objectives of your research, and objectives of any good research can be validated or verified only through research publications. Your objectives may be anything. It may be to verify and test important facts. It may be to analyze an event, process of phenomena. It may be to identify the cause and effect relationship. Anything, whatever objective is, every objective can be validated or verified only through research publication. And that's why the research publications or research writing is very much critical. So why we publish? Publishing is obviously one of the necessary steps embedded in the scientific research process. So what to publish and what not to publish, both the things are very important to know. What to publish, obviously, if it is a new or original work, reviews of particular subject area, manuscript that advance the knowledge in a particular scientific area, all these things want to publish and should be published. And what not to publish, it is more important to know than knowing what to publish. So what not to publish, it is reports of no scientific importance. Many people I know, I experienced, I don't want to name or quote any author or organization, but they're just simply publishing things just for publishing, without having no scientific importance, without having any significance. They're just wanting to increase their number of publications. So please do not publish such things. Out of date work, duplication of earlier published work, or incorrect results. These four things we should not publish, right? So, but important thing is, how can we start writing good papers? How can we start writing good review articles, books, manuscripts, etc., etc. So my dear friends, there is no way to get experience except through experience. And there are so many questions in your mind. It may be when you start writing or you start researching and want to publish your work, there are so many questions. How to select a good journal, what is peer review, what is GOI, what is citation, what is impact factor, all these questions. Some of questions you know, some questions are unanswered. The early career faculties or the students who just joined the research, these questions may be very important for them. What is CITES score? What is indexing? What is H index? What is I-10 index? How to write a good research paper? And what are the scientific misindex? These are the few very important questions which are in everybody's mind, and everybody want to have answers of these questions. I would try my best to answer maximum of these questions today, and let us start. So if we start with the types of writings, there are three types of manuscripts. One is research paper, which is focusing on some specific problem with a specific methodology and presents the original findings and conclusions. Second, the review articles focusing on some specific topic, reporting the previous work done, and it would be nicely drafted compilation of earlier work. The review article actually having canvas, bigger canvas than a research paper, but smaller than a book. So these are three main types of manuscripts possible: research paper, review articles, and books. So we will focus today on the research paper. The writing of research paper and review articles are more or less same. Their methodology, their processing, their publishing process and steps involved are almost same. So we will try to focus on these 2 points. Before starting this talk, I want to share with you few of my contribution in a quick view. I have contributed 100 research papers from national and international journals, 20 books from international publication houses, including Royal Society of Chemistry, CRC Taylor and Francis, Wiley, Springer, edited 38 books as series editor under Green Chemistry book series of Springer. Many invited lectures, keynote addresses in national and international conferences, reviewed hundreds of research papers of international research journals. This last point, reviewed hundreds of research papers, is actually the spirit behind all my experience, which I'm going to share with you. And what small things, what silly things, what mistakes, what misconducts I have observed during these 20 years when I reviewed these manuscripts. I would like to share all of them today with you. Few of my books, it is Green Chemistry for Environmental Sustainability from CRC Taylor and Francis. Another one from Royal Society of Chemistry. One more from Royal Society of Chemistry. Next one is from CRC Taylor and Francis. All these books are in the domain area of green chemistry. Another book from Wiley. Next from Springer, Advances in Water Treatment and Pollution Prevention. Next, again from CRC Taylor and Francis. Again, one more from Springer. These are few books. Another one from Wiley, Green Chemistry for Dyes Removal from Wastewater. Bioremediation, it is recently released in 2019 from CRC Taylor and Francis. One more from CRC Taylor and Francis. So these are the books I have contributed. I have been included as a spotlight editor and author for CRC Taylor and Francis. There are a few things quickly we can see. Being a series editor of Springer, a book series editor, I have been involved in editing the 39 titles which have been published so far, contributed from authors of different corners of the world. I have been awarded fellowship from Royal Society of Chemistry. I am thankful to them. So it is all about what I have learned, what I have observed, what I have achieved in last 20 years. And this is the book which will come from Elsewhere, UK this year, Green Chemistry and Water Remediation. So it's all about my contribution and my purpose here to share with you this contribution actually shows the consistency, the dedication, the involvement, and your seriousness, just your commitment. Because when you see this picture, which picture is more beautiful? I am sure the second one picture looks more beautiful, where only two beautiful fishes are there. And in the first picture, there are a lot of fishes are there. So I believe that focus on quality. The picture having two beautiful fishes is more important, more valuable, more eye-catching than the picture which is having many fishes. So, my dear students, I will start this talk with this theme, that please focus on quality, not quantity. Read more, write less. It is the mantra of successful, for being a successful author and writer. So I will suggest you to read more, literature, to read more good papers, and write less, right? So we start with the first and foremost question: how to select a good journal. Actually, the selection of journal depends upon its reputation. And the reputation means its scope, its prestige, its circulation, its frequency, and whether it is peer-reviewed or not. Peer-reviewed journal or referred journal are more important than any other type of journals, because nowadays there are a lot of journals mushrooming here and there. There are a lot of journals, every day you have a number of emails in your mailbox, just invitation of manuscripts, call of papers, just you send the papers. You just send paper, they demand money next day, and the paper published on the very next day. So in the crowd of such mushrooming of journals, the peer-reviewed journals have their own importance and standing. The journal should be peer-reviewed, the journal should be well abstracted in national and international bodies, and having good impact factor or site score. There are two things. Everybody, perhaps they are only aware about the term impact factor, but nowadays another term, site score, is popularizing very much. Having a good SJR, it is also important term which we will discuss. It is Semico journal ranking. We'll discuss it further. So, and at that time, when you going to select a journal, when you are going to submit your paper in a journal, be aware about predatory journals. It is very important to know and be cautious about predatory journals. So, what is a predatory journal? If you browse on internet, this term is coined by librarian Jeffrey Bell. And if you just browse Jeffrey Bell's list, you will have a blacklist of journals which are predatory journals which you should avoid. So when you choose a journal to submit your manuscript, I request you all to please search that journal in the Bell's list. If that journal is in Bell's list, it is better to avoid such journals. There are so many fake journals, scam journals offering open access. All these journals are just publishing your manuscripts on an exchange of money, exchange of payment. All these journals are called predatory journals, and you should aware and cautious about it and avoid such type of journals. I'm not taking much time on this. ISSN, you all know, ISSN is the International Standard Serial Number. PISSN for print journals, EISSN for electronic journal. Nowadays, most of the journals are print as well as online journals. So you can see both the ISSN on the homepage of any journal. So we are talking about peer-reviewed journals. So peer review involves subjecting the author's scholarly work and research to the scrutiny of other experts in the same field to check its validity and evaluate its suitability. there are three types of peer review. The one is open peer review, which is actually, I must say, it is not of much use, because open peer review is just a formality. In this type of review, author knows reviewer and reviewer knows author. Both the party knows each other, so the quality of the paper may be compromised, right? Second is single blind peer review, in which reviewer knows the author, but author does not know the reviewer. It is one-way process. It is called single blind review, in which reviewer is, quite aware about the person who is contributing the manuscript. So this type of review is also having many apprehensions. And the third and the most important and most, useful and mostly used review process by the international journals and reputed journals is double blind peer review, in which author does not know reviewer as well as reviewer does not know author. Both the party, they are not aware about each other. Therefore, it would be the best practice to judge a work of a manuscript, a work of an individual. Then second question is, what is citation? Citation, I'm sure most of you are having your citation Google Scholar account. If you don't have, I request through this webinar to all my viewers and listeners who are actively involved in research and learning, you please create your Google Scholar account and start creating your citation record. A citation is a formal reference to a published or unpublished source that you consulted and obtained information from while writing your research paper. A citation gives you information about the title, about the author, about the journal, about the publication, about the date of publication, and everything related to that particular publication. While citation analysis involved counting the number of times an article is cited. So when you create your Google Scholar account, you will have citation analysis of each and every paper contributed by you. You will be able to view that how many people are referring your research, how many people are citing your research, and increasing your citation definitely boosts your confidence, definitely boosts your, gives you motivation. Another one thing, which is easy to cite any article, any publication, any manuscript, is DOI. DOI is the best way to locate or search your paper on internet. It is a digital object identifier. This is an example. You can see this link is given in 3 colors. So first, red color is for crossref.org. Second, sky blue color is for prefix, and the dark blue color is suffix. Prefix is an information for the journal, and suffix is the information of your particular article, right? So this DOI is actually a complete reference of your paper. It gives complete Janam-patri, complete citation of your paper, that which journal it is, what paper it is, who are the authors, what is their affiliation, what is abstract, what is this, that, all, what, everything. So having papers published with some DOI is good enough nowadays. Now, next is, what is impact factor? It is obviously very important thing. Many of you knows it. Many are not aware about it. Earlier, it was given by Thomson Reuters, but nowadays it is given by Clarivate Analytics. And the basis of calculating impact factor is the referred or indexed journals in Web of Science, right? How it is important, how can we calculate it? Let us have an example. Impact factor of a journal is calculated by dividing the number of current year citation to the source item published in that journal. For example, I am discussing here the impact factor of the journal Nature. Impact factor of 2017, it was 41.577. So impact factor is very complicated calculation, is equal to citation of 15 and 16 divided by publication of 15 and 16. So it is 41.577. This is an example, means if the impact factor is equal to 100 by 40 plus 60, means 40 papers published in year 1, 60 papers published in year 2, and 100 are the citation in year 3. So citation we received in year 3 divided by the number of papers published in year 1 and 2 gives you impact factor of that journal. So here for this particular example, the impact factor is 1. Another example, you can calculate, it is citation of 15 and 16 is 214 and publication are 96, impact factor is 2.229 only. Okay, now the important thing, because the impact factor is based on the sources available in Web of Science, it doesn't matter that the journals not involved in Web of Science are not good. I'm repeating my question, my sentence. It doesn't mean that the journals not involved in Web of Science are not good, right? That's why this term CiteScore came into existence, and this term is given by Elsevier in 2016, and which is based on Scopus, database of Scopus index journals, right? And while CiteScore and journal citation report impact factor are similar in their definition, the definition of both are same. CiteScore is based on citation recorded in the Scopus rather than in Journal of Citation Record. And those citations are collected for articles published in preceding 3 years instead of 2 or 5 years. This is the difference. Impact factor is basically based on the citation collected in 2 years, 2 preceding years, while the CiteScore is based on citation collecting in 3 preceding years, right? So, for example, A and B, A is number of citation collected in 4th year, right, divided by publication of 3 preceding years. For example, if we calculate the CiteScore for Nature for year 2017, you will see it would be just 14.456. Here you note that CiteScore of Nature for 2017 is lesser than the impact factor of Nature in 2017. The difference is CiteScore was designed to compete with the 2-year impact factor, which is currently the most widely used journal metric. This is the difference between impact factor and CiteScore. Evaluation period for impact factor is just 2 years, while for the CiteScore it is 3 years. Database, there is Web of Science. In CiteScore it is Scopus. Access for impact factor only subscriber can access, while for CiteScore it is accessible for everybody. And evaluated items in impact factor, there is only articles and review articles considered, while in CiteScore, all the publications, they may be reports, editorial, reviews, review paper, everything is included. And that's why the journal Nature had an impact factor of 41.577 and CiteScore of just 14.456 in 2017. It is a big difference, mostly because of a much larger denominator in CiteScore, that is 7,860, than in Journal Citation Report Impact Factor, it was just 1782. Means I want to say that the CiteScore is more important than nowadays, because if a journal is Scopus Index, its CiteScore, if having good citation and good CiteScore, it would be a good journal to contribute, and you can go for it. So a journal's SJR is a numeric value indicating the average number of dated citation received during a selected year per document. SJR is Simico Journal Rank. It is another term announced by Elsevier Scopus database, and this is the website from where you can know the Simico Journal rank of any journal, So just go there, give the name of your journal and see what is its rank. And it would be beneficial for all of you at the time of selection of a journal to contribute your research. Obviously, there is no need to say that higher SJR values are meant to indicate greater journal's prestige, reputation, and acceptability in the scientific communities. So nowadays, most of the universities prefer 3 highly worthy indexes. If your paper are indexed in Web of Science or SCI Expanded or Scopus, then only it would be considered for any ranking purpose. Please note, all the scholars, all the teachers, all the administrators of academic institutions, that the papers indexed in these 3 most important and highly worthy indexes are useful for your ranking purpose. So try to contribute. As I told you earlier, that focus on the quality, not quantity. If you are having only 2 papers indexed in Web of Science, I am sure it is more than enough. It is more important than 20 papers in XYZ journals. So try to publish your research in this type of journals which are indexed in these 3 indexing databases. Now another term, very important term, H-index. Actually, as soon as you rise in your career, as soon as you rise in your academic and research career, your promoters, your employer, your future employer, they review your H-index. They review your research by knowing your H-index. It is an author level metric that attempts to measure both the productivity and citation impact. How it works? Look, if you, for example, let me go back. The index is based on the set of the scientist's most cited papers and the number of citations that they have received in other publications. It is a ratio. There is the 6 most highly cited articles have been cited at least 6 times. If you see this graph, there are 6 papers having citation at least 6 times. Therefore, the H-index will be 6. So measured at the author level, H-index is equal to the number of papers H that have been cited at least H times. So it is very important to know that what is the H-index. If you are having a good H-index, or you are able to increase your H index by contributing a good paper, I'm sure it would be your credential, and it would be, you know, beneficial for you as well as your organization. Another term is I-10 index. I-10 index is actually, it refers to the number of papers with 10 or more citation. Suppose you have published 10 papers, and out of those 10, there are 5 papers having more than 10 citations. So your I-10 index will be 5. So for the citation received and given a number of papers ranked in a decreasing order according to the citation received till now. And this is how we can calculate your I-10. So your H index and your I-10 index, two metrics are very important for every individual. For every individual who are, you know, who want to publish an article, who want to continue the research. Now we start the next segment. Just a minute. Is it visible?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Yes, sir. It is visible. Yes, sir.
Okay. Thank you. So now we start the most important segment of this talk: how to write a good research paper. And meanwhile, we will discuss the ethical misconducts as well. As we proceed the lecture, we will discuss all the ethical misconducts. So a research paper is actually a written document, written and published report describing original research results. It must be the first publication of your original research finding. Look, whenever you do research, everybody is doing research. Suppose 2 people are doing research on the same topic, but who publish first matters a lot. Whoever published first, it would be his finding, it would be his original contribution, and it would give name to that author, that researcher, that contributor in a long run. So in a form whereby peers of the author can repeat the experiments and test the conclusions, because your paper would be the guideline. It would be a guideline for the people, for the future researcher. By referring your paper, the future generation will design or continue their research. So a research paper in a journal or other source document readily available with scientific community and which can be repeated by any number of people at any number of time, right? So here a very important thing, that poor experimentation cannot be masked by brilliant writing. However, the poor writing can mask brilliant experimentation. Believe me, it is the thumb rule. It is the mantra of the successful writings and successful research. And I have observed so many cases, hundreds, thousands of cases in last 20 years, that poor experimentation cannot be masked by brilliant writing. You may be a good writer, you may be a brilliant writer, but you cannot mask a poor experimentation by your brilliant writing. But poor writing can mask a brilliant experimentation. If you have done a very good research, if you have done a very wonderful work and contributed a wonderful research for the scientific community, but if it is poorly written, if it is poorly contributed, it can dilute the importance of that research. So to avoid such poor writings, I suggest you to think paragraph wise. It is a new philosophy actually. People in the lighter side, most of the persons, most of the scholars, teachers and researchers, they start writing their paper with the title and finish by the reference, right? Meanwhile, they put all the things, their name, affiliation, abstract, all other things. And they mostly they want to finish their paper in 1 or 2 sitting only. I humbly request all of them that please don't write your manuscript in hurry. Please don't write or submit your manuscript in a rush. Don't try to write a complete manuscript in a single go. Always think paragraph wise and always write unit wise. Actually, publishing of a paper is a teamwork. It is a communication between 3 parties. There are 3 stakeholders. One is journal, second is author, third is reviewer. So there is a lot of communication between author and journal. There will be a lot of communication between journal and reviewer, but there will be no communication between author and reviewer. I am talking about the double-blind peer review journals. The journals in which double-blind peer review practice is followed. In such journals, there is no connection between authors and reviewers, right? So this is the whole process, publication process. If you see this publication process, just go back. Let me explain this process. Perhaps you are not able to understand all these steps at a glance. So for that purpose, we discuss in these steps. There are 10 steps actually. And for a good paper, publication of a good paper in a good journal, it takes time from 6 months to 12 months. If this journal is a double-blind peer-reviewed journal, the first step, when an author submits a paper. Second step, editor assigns the manuscript. Third, editor assigns reviewers. Fourth, reviewers decide on whether to review paper. Actually, this is the freedom given to the reviewer. He can accept the invitation or decline or reject the invitation to review a manuscript. There may be so many reasons. We don't want to discuss all those reasons. Then, more than one reviewers can inspect your manuscript. 2 or 3 reviewers can, scrutinize, can review your manuscript. On the basis of revisions, on the basis of reviewers' report, editor decides on accuracy of revisions and whether to accept paper. This is the step 6. It is the step where your paper get acceptance or demand of revision or rejection. Then, if it is accepted, editor sends back the paper to author for certain revisions recommended by the reviewers. Author revises the paper, send it back, and it gets published. So this is the step. This is the step 1 to 10, and more or less all the journals follow this sequence. But don't get overwhelmed. You please don't be panicked. You please don't be stressed. Break down your writing process into few steps, because time management is the most crucial thing, most important thing. First of all, you write down all your due dates and break down the research process into steps. As I told you earlier, don't try to write a paper in single go. Don't try to write a paper in 2 or 3 sittings only. You must break down your writing process into steps and assign due dates for each step. Some time for introduction section, some time for experimental section, some time for research, results and discussion section. So section wise, then time for writing an abstract. All these sections require a lot of focus and lot of time and energy, which is individually given to those sections. So assign due dates for each step, make weekly and daily priority list, check your list, consult with your research guide at every step of writing. It is very important. It is very important. And I must advise you all, budding researchers or research scholars, that please consult your research guide at every step of writing, because it will not only give you a fresh guidance, but also it will stop you to do mistakes, and it would be less time consuming for you to write a paper in a given time. And be strict with yourself. Please be strict with yourself. If you are not following the deadlines, if you are not following the timelines for yourself, it would be difficult to contribute a good paper on time, right? So for any research paper, these are the main sections, main steps: title, author, abstract, keywords, introduction, materials and method. In some journals, it is known as experimental, results and discussion, conclusion, acknowledgement, references, tables and figures, and caption. So if you start writing, you please think paragraph wise and step wise. And the sequence of writing of a paper is like this. You start with collecting your figures, your tables, your methods and result and discussion, then your abstract, and last is the title. For example, developing the title is your opportunity to attract the reader's attention. I must say that the readers are the potential authors who will cite your article. Give me answer. You please let me know if a paper is not useful for you, why you will refer it, why you will see it, why you will search it, why you will read it. So remember, the readers of your paper are the potential authors who will cite your article. Your article may be cited in their future articles. So a good title can be defined as the fewest possible words that adequately describe the contents of the paper, and it should be clear. Title should not be very long or not very short, and obviously and importantly should not be very specific. You always see, whenever you start searching any paper in Google, you start your searching with simple words, simple phrases, simple titles. So don't be specific in your title. Title must not be very specific. It should be very simple, but it does not contain any jargon and abbreviations. Don't use abbreviations in title, right? So title is very important, and it is the face. It is the face of your research. By reading your title, anybody can guess, anybody can say that in this paper, what he or she is going to get. Then after title, the list of authors come. The author should normally be listed in order of importance to the research. The list of authors should include those and only those who actively contributed to the research and experiments. Here I want to share the practice. What the practice, perhaps you also have observed. I have observed many times. When a paper is submitted to a journal to publish, if you closely monitor the list of authors, the first name will be the name of guide. The second name will be the second name may be the name of his wife or his husband. The third name will be the friend of guide. And the fourth name will be some relative of that friend. And the fifth name will be of the research scholar. It is very unfortunate practice. I observed many times in so many research papers. I believe that the first name should be of research scholar, because he is the most important unit of that team who worked, who actually and actively contributed in the research, and who will get benefited through this paper. So the first name should be of research scholar. Then second, third, fourth name may be of anybody as per their importance in that research. It may be guide, co-guide, other authors, whatever it is. Because each author is responsible for the data given in a paper. You cannot escape yourself in any case of misconduct if found there. So the name of authors is a very, it is the responsibility. It is just not the sake of mentioning the name of your friends or obliging them that you put my name in your paper and I put your name in my paper, and you are mutually doing this thing since a long. I'm sorry to say, my dear friends, it is not a good practice. It is not a good practice. Believe me, each author is responsible for the data given a paper. You cannot escape yourself in any case, in any situation of misconduct if found related with that paper. So the name of the person involved in that paper must be given very carefully. Also, the name of the person responsible for the all correspondence should be mentioned clearly. Now here, what type of misconduct involved? It is gift authorship. Gift authorship is a big ethical misconduct. As I told you that first name is of guide, second name is of his friend, third name of his relative, fourth name of his wife or husband, like this. Or fifth name is the research scholar, and sixth name of friend of research scholar. So my dear friends, all those authorships given to the persons who are not involved in that research is called gift authorship. And gift authorship is a big ethical misconduct which may harm the original contributor at any time. Please underline my this line, that gift authorship is a big time misconduct and can harm an individual big time. So be careful when you putting the names as author in a research paper. Authorship provides credit for an individual's contribution to a study, and normally an author is an individual judged to have made a substantial intellectual or practical contribution. Now, there is a question. There are two types of author. Who gets first authorship and who will be the corresponding author? And as I told you earlier, that the first author is usually the person who has made the most significant intellectual contribution to the work in terms of designing, conducting the experiments, analyzing the data, writing the manuscript. And obviously all this work, all this lot of work is done only by the research scholar. So in my opinion, the first author must be research scholar. Many of the people connected right now, or many of the audience may be differ from me, may not be agree with me. So I respect their understanding. But in my opinion, first author must be a research scholar. And I'm proudly mentioning here the practices of my university. In my university, the papers in which the first author is research scholar is only considered for his or her PhD. All other papers in which first author is not the research scholars, we don't consider for the PhD. Second is corresponding author. Corresponding author is usually the senior author who provides the intellectual input and design and approve the protocols. During a PhD, for a research scholar, the corresponding author should be his or her guide, his or her supervisor, because corresponding author is usually the supervisor, because the supervisor has better understanding of communication, better understanding of the reviewer's comments, the correspondence with the editorial office, the timely management of all the communication, so that, and obviously a guiding force for a research scholar, so that corresponding author must be the research supervisor. Otherwise, first author may be corresponding author and vice versa. Now, the misconduct involved here is conflict of interest. If you remember, in many good journals, many reputed journals, they want a signed document, a letter of conflict of interest they demand from the authors, and in which they want you all please write and give in writing, signed by all the authors involved, that there is no conflict of interest. So in my opinion, this type of misconduct is very important many times after publishing a paper, when two or more than two people claim for a paper's contribution. So it would be better if you solve conflict of interest earlier, at very earlier stage of the submission, and give it in writing. Then, who is more important, first author or the corresponding author? Practically all the authors are responsible, as I just shared with you. But the first author is responsible for practically carrying out the research, and the corresponding author is usually the one who is responsible for all the related correspondence. So in my opinion, both the authors are equally important. Now, second section is abstract. Actually, abstract is a miniature. It is a standalone unit. A standalone unit, and it is the advertisement of your research. If you observe, in many journals, you are only having freedom to access the abstract. And by referring an abstract, you can have a full glance of that paper. You can learn what is given in that entire paper. So abstract is actually miniature. And in my opinion, this section means abstract should be written in the last. After completion the whole manuscript, after completing the whole writing, then only you start drafting your abstract. I'm not talking about those abstracts which people submit in every conference. Unfortunately, I have observed so many cases in which one fellow is submitting more than 2, 3, or 4 abstracts in a single conference. So I'm not talking about those abstracts. I'm talking about the abstracts written as a first paragraph of a research paper. That abstract should be written at last when you complete the whole manuscript. A good abstract should not exceed 250 words. And please, please, please do not use any reference in abstract section. Please write down this. This is an important tip. Many research scholars start referring references from abstract only. You please don't refer any reference in abstract section. You would start referring the literature from introduction section. No abbreviation or acronyms should be used here in abstract section. And if it is indispensable to use, if you cannot skip that abbreviation, you please write its full form first and then abbreviation in bracket. Then it would be useful. Otherwise, please don't use any abbreviation. Now, what type of misconduct what type of ethical misconduct involved here is fabrication and falsification. As I told you that people are in very hurry in submission of abstracts in some conferences or in some other activities, and they fabricate an abstract. They read some papers, related papers, and they fabricate a new abstract, or they falsify or they give false statements in the abstract and submit somewhere else. So it is ethical misconduct. At any time, if it is found, it would be a great problem for that individual. As I told you earlier that it should be written after finishing the complete writing of a paper. It is my advice as well as a tip. As a tip for writing a good paper, you please write your abstract after finishing your complete paper. Second, there should be 5 to 7 keywords followed by abstract. It is actually part of abstract itself. And as a human being, me, you, or anybody else, my professor, your guide, my guide, everybody, whenever we search something, we start with some simple words. We start searching some good words, some words which are more frequently used in the papers related to your subject area. So these keywords, you must select these keywords very intelligently. These 5 to 7 words should be related to your study and should be best to browse on internet. So please select the keywords very intelligently. Now the next section is introduction. In introduction, first of all, you should give some background information, some background literature review you can cite here. And when you cite the background information, please do not write extensive literature review. You just include the literature of last 5 to 10 years, which is, I think, more than sufficient to build up a good introduction, to build up a good background information. Because if you cite an extensive literature, if you cite a literature since a very long time, it would be useless sometimes for the viewers or readers. And most importantly, in this section, in this introduction section, you please state the purpose of your study very clearly. Clear your aim of research. What is your aim of research? It must be clear. Or in this section, don't discuss any result here, because this section is meant for background information and introducing your problem, introducing the aim of your study, introducing the purpose of your study. So please don't discuss your results and observations here, right? And what type of misconduct involved? That is plagiarism. Most of the cases of plagiarism found in the introduction section, because most of the people, most of the students, most of the individuals just copy literature from somewhere else and paste it in the introduction section of their paper. So putting someone else's work, just copy and paste in your introduction section is simply plagiarism. You please don't do it. You refer the papers, but write your findings, write that gist of that paper in your own words. Right? That is the right way of referring a paper. Rather, you just copy the text and paste it in your introduction section or in any section of your paper and just put the reference in your reference section. So it is my advice to be original in writing, as much original as you can. Then plagiarism is obviously an academic dishonesty. It's simply copyright infringement and is a serious ethical as well as criminal offense. Stealing someone else's matter language, thoughts, idea, expression, cutting and pasting internet materials without taking prior permission is simply known as plagiarism, and it is cut and copy, cut, copy, paste practice. You please avoid such practice. It is subject to sanctions because it is very serious offense, and in near past so many cases have been surfaced of plagiarism. It is subject to sanctions like penalties, suspension, and even expulsion. Recently, cases of extreme plagiarism have been identified in academia, and because all the selections and promotions nowadays are based on your publications. Your publications play a very important role in your selections or promotion. So in that case, if plagiarism found in your publications, it may be very harmful for an individual. So you may be, and if you found guilty for plagiarism, you may be blacklisted collectively by most of the journals of your field and area just on one such case, and you will be, having penalized so many in so many ways. Now the next section is experimental or materials and method. In this section, you give exact technical specification of the methods and materials used in the present study. Describe what you did exactly, what software you used, what methodology you used, what principle you used. If you use a well-established method, it may be necessary simply to mention it by name or to give an appropriate reference. Here, the misconduct involved is falsification. How falsification acts? Actually, for example, if you read some paper and some research experiment conducted on a temperature of 26 degrees centigrade, and the reading is, for example, say the reading is 4.789, and you are writing your experimental section and you just mentioning the same methodology, same experimental detail, and you just manipulate the data, manipulate the temperature a little bit, manipulate the readings a little bit, and produce it as your own findings, is your own observation, then my dear students and colleagues, it is falsification. Falsification should be avoided. You please don't fabricate, you please don't give false details. Now, the very important and most critical section, and that is results and discussion. In this discussion area, in this section, I advise you to do not give every minute detail of the work. It doesn't look nice. This part of the paper is the most difficult and important, where you discuss your findings and data. So it should be very authentic. Actually, this is the portion which is your original research, which is the part which will give you name, fame, and popularity. This section will exhibit your original findings and your original observations. So whenever you discuss your observation, whenever you discuss your finding, always point out the suggestions for the future study. Always guide the future generation that how you performed, what you observed, what is the result, and what are the drawbacks. What next you can do, that should be clearly suggested in your paper. And the misconducts involved in this section are again 3 ethical misconducts involved in research and discussion area is fabrication, falsification, and plagiarism. All 3 we have discussed earlier, so no need to discuss it again, but I suggest you, my dear friends, to please cautious, please be aware about these 3 misconducts, please don't do. Then the section of conclusion. Conclusion is actually the last section, last paragraph, after discussing your results and observations in detail, after discussing your results and findings in details, conclusion is the part, it is the paragraph, it is the section where you tell the people, you tell the audience how your work is different, how your work is significant, how it advances the field of research from the present status of understanding. Because it's quite necessary to judge your contribution on certain merits and parameters. Provide a clear scientific justification for your work and indicate possible applications and extensions. Look, this conclusion will be very beneficial for you in a long run in networking with the people of the same interest, of the people of same interest area. Because when you give the clear scientific justification of your work and indicate possible applications and extensions, people who are interested in your work might contact you. They may contact, they might contact, and it would be a great chance to collaborate with people globally and give you ample chances, give you ample opportunity to grow up. So conclusion must be written so well and suggest future steps, experiments, ideas, and extension of the work. Because whenever somebody want to continue his or her research in the given area, he will definitely refer your paper. Your citation number will be increased, your popularity will be increased, your indexing will be increased, your networking will be increased, all the parameters will be increased if you write your conclusion section very intelligently, very genuinely, and very precisely. The most important thing which I want to say here, that do not repeat abstract here. Many of the people, many of the researchers, many of the colleagues, many of the friends, they just copy the abstract in the conclusion section. My dear friends, abstract is different thing, conclusion is different thing. Abstract is a miniature of the paper, is a miniature of the complete journey of the paper. It may include few lines of experimental, few lines of result and discussion, 1 or 2 lines of conclusion. It is complete gist of a paper. And conclusion is itself is an important unit of the paper, which is an individual and important and significant unit. So it is quite different from the abstract. So it is my request with all of you with the folded hands that please do not repeat abstract here. Please don't just copy the abstract and paste in the conclusion section. It is rubbish. It is an ethical misconduct, as well as it will dilute your reputation as an author and researcher. So please don't do this. Now, acknowledgements. Acknowledgements is a section where you can acknowledge the useful helpers who do not qualify for authorship. You can acknowledge technical and financial help. If you are doing this research through some financial support, through some project, you can acknowledge that financial help here. You can acknowledge the material supply. You can acknowledge everyone else other than authors who helped you in this research. But it is my advice not to put anybody else's name in the acknowledgement section, because it may be harmful for you someday. You should obtain written permission from the individual concerned, because anytime if any conflict arises from that paper, the persons you acknowledge whom will also be interrogated. So you please don't use anybody else's name, and at the same time don't allow people to use your name in their acknowledgement. It is very very difficult to stop yourself using someone else's name or allowing someone else to use your name. But it is my request, please don't do without any written permission. Then reference. reference is the style of writing reference. It depends on the guidelines of the journal or the publisher. It depends upon individual journals. Reference should be relevant, latest, and actually concerned with the topic you are discussing. Don't use so many, please try to use latest references. Avoid excessive self-citation and excessive citation of publication from the same reason. Actually, recently a guideline released from UGC that if in a paper self-citation is found more than the required amount, or a lot of self-citation is found in some paper, that paper will not be considered for the promotion and appointment of any teacher. It is recent guidelines. I hope everybody is aware about this guideline. Everybody is aware about this recent guidelines released by UGC. So avoid self-citation, avoid excessive self-citation. I'm not stopping you to self-cite, but stopping you to excessively use self-citation. And use variety of references like books, CDs, chapters, papers, websites, newspapers. References must be, variety of references must be there. It indicates and it shows at the same time that the person who is contributing this paper is a serious researcher. He is updated in his area of research and contributing genuinely and originally. So try to use variety of references. And the most important, please do not claim more than you did. Do not generalize from one study or one result. On the basis of one result or just one finding, you please don't give any generalized statement in your paper. Suppose one finding is observed in Delhi at 40 degrees centigrade temperature in summer season. It doesn't mean that it is fine for every region. It is fine for every country. It is fine for every other temperature. So do not generalize from one study. Do not claim that because it worked well on a few test cases, that it will work well on all test cases, all platforms, and for all other inputs. So now tips. There are a few tips. Your cover letter. Actually, when we focus only on research paper, we neglect or we take casual these things. Cover letter, it is your first chance to speak to the editor directly, and it is your first impression. Use it wisely. Your cover letter must be very appealing, very good, and in your cover letter, you please emphasize on the significance and uniqueness of your work. You must also suggest some potential reviewers in your cover letter. It will help the editor to move your manuscript faster. Be prepared to suggest 3 to 6 potential reviewers. And obviously, the reviewer should represent at least 2 reasons of the work, and they should not be your supervisor or close friends. Whenever you give the reviewers, names of reviewers, they should not be related to you in any mean. They should not be from your same organization, from same area, some same research domain of your known people or fraternity. Then submit your manuscript. Make sure you have adhered to all of the formatting requirements of your mentor and submit your paper. Always keep a copy of your paper on file and in hard copy. Even though we are living in an age of technical advancement, but I always advise you to keep a copy of your paper in your file, a hard copy of your paper, a print paper copy of your paper, because God knows if something happens with your computer, your laptop, or your hard disk, you must have a hard copy of your paper, your results, and your findings with you. Here, the misconduct involved is redundant publication and duplicate manuscript. Both these practices are very common nowadays. Redundant publication means you are repeating your own work repeatedly, and duplicate manuscript, you are submitting the same manuscript in 2 journals simultaneously. Both these these practices are unethical and called ethical misconducts. If you are found guilty in any of these 2 misconducts, believe me, you will simply blacklisted by good journals and by the scientific community. Right? Now, after submitting and after publishing your paper, the question comes how to market your writings, how to popularize your writings. So first of all, you should mail your contacts about your research paper or your book or your chapter. You may use that link in your email signature. The email, your link or your DOI of your recently published paper, you please use it in your email signature. So unknowingly, you are writing or you are sending the information about your paper to everybody. Whoever you are writing an email, you write an email, hundreds emails a day. So if it is in your email signature, you are sending that information to everybody without any extra effort. Write about your research paper on social media, on your blog, on your website, because this is very strong medium nowadays. Many good researches and many good collaborations have been, have been possible through such media, such social medias and websites. Then discuss your work whenever you attend any seminar, workshop, conference. Whenever you go for a lecture, whenever you go for some seminar, for conference, discuss your work there. Refer your own work in your presentation, discussion, and future publication. But please be aware of not using excessive self-citation. Refer your work, but don't use excessive self-citation. So these are few steps by using which you can market your research, your findings very well. So be prepared for a writing process. And I again request, do not attempt to write a research paper overnight. This process takes weeks and months. Yes, absolutely. Yes, months. So don't try to become a popular writer overnight. And I am quoting here the wisdom of Shri Ravi Shankar, Gurudev Shri, that when your intentions are very pure and clear, nature brings support to you. If you are genuine, if you are honest, if your intentions are pure and clear, I am sure nature brings support to you. So it's all about this thing. There is no way to get experience except through experience. And by these words, I thank you, everybody. These are my details. You can note down. And with these words, I conclude today's talk. I must thank the organizers of this wonderful event, and Vineet ji, Santosh ji, and ma'am, principal ma'am, and all other organizers involved and work day and night for success of this event. Thank you very much, all the participants, to spend this lot time with me. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, sir, for such a wonderful session. There are a couple of questions, sir. With your kind permission, can we proceed?
Yes, please. Yes, please.
There is first and foremost question regarding the plagiarism, sir. Many of the times, many of the institutions are not in a position to purchase the plagiarism software, which sometimes goes into lakhs of rupees. So they
Okay.
are using the online software, and when they are using online software, we get the results that the plagiarism is less than 10%. But when we
Yeah.
are actually sending it to the publisher, we get the repercussion of that the plagiarism is not less than 10%, it is much more than that. So can you just
Yes.
comment upon that?
Yes. Look, it is a very common problem, a very common question, and I was I was sure that this question will certainly arise.
Yes, sir.
Actually, nowadays plagiarism is a big issue, and I must say here, with all due regards to all the dignitaries or all the faculty members and friends right now connected here, that due to plagiarism, I have observed so many, the career of so many peoples, have been finished, right? So first of all, everybody listening me, you please don't take it casual. You must be very, very careful about plagiarism. Now the question is, because the advanced softwares are very costly, because the reports generated by those plagiarism softwares are very accurate and very authentic. So how to do, what to do? So in that case, uh, our honorable agency, the UGC, uh, guided us for using the software Urkund. Urkund is a software prescribed by UGC and which is applicable and acceptable throughout the country for all the publications related to research, research findings, research projects, research proposals. So you can rely on Urkund reports, but yes, there is vast variation in the reports of Urkund and some other advanced softwares. So in that case, what can we do? You just submit your manuscript with your Urkund report, for example, or with a report for some XYZ plagiarism software, right? And let journal decide. Let journal
Good.
decide what percentage of plagiarism is actually there.
Okay.
If the plagiarism is beyond the limit of the journal or beyond the imagination, then you should be sure that it would be rejected. Your paper would be rejected, in a first glance. But if it is somewhere near about the permissible limit, the editor will send you a remark, will send you a comment in at the time of revision that Mr. So and so, there is this much percent similarity found in your manuscript. It would be advisable to you if you please reduce it substantially for within the limit for our journal. So in that case, they will highlight the text, what is plagiarized. In that case, you will have an opportunity to rewrite it or redraft it. But my suggestion is कि ऐसा problem आए क्यों? You please try to write original. You please refer the literature. Don't copy the literature. Referring the literature and copying the literature are two different things. You please refer and write it in your own words. Then there would be no similarity or plagiarism will be found. You will not be afraid of any plagiarism software report.
Absolutely. Sir, one more question is there that many of the times, as you have also mentioned in your talk, that we need to give very latest references.
Can I
But
have
then
a water for a minute?
we need to give some good original references and which should be latest. But many of the times it happens that when we are referring, there are references available from old literature only, or many of the times there are certain topics which have not been worked upon.
Yeah.
So there is a question regarding that in that case, what we should do?
Actually, Vineet, it is also a good question. Look, when you refer some literature in
Yes.
the journals to which I am associated or the manuscript of those journals I have reviewed, in many such journals, actually there is limitation of number of references as well. They are giving you limitation of only 10 references. So what you should do? You have to use the top 10 references and top 10 latest references. right? So make it practice that try to use your latest references, because and in those latest references you must take some reviews, because every review has 300-400 reference inbuilt, right? So referring few good reviews is equivalent to the referring of 400 different references, right? So when you refer some latest publications, you select few latest reviews as well. So all your references which you want to use but you are not free to use, they will automatically covered, right?
Yes.
But to make your research genuine, to make your research useful for the audience, to make your research impactful for the future readers and researchers, please use latest reference of last 5 to 10 years maximum.
Yeah.
Right?
Yes.
And if some reference is obviously indispensable, and if it is of from 1947, then you please use it if it is indispensable.
Yeah. The last question, sir. I think we are running short of time, but there are so many questions which have been asked. So the last question is about the time span which has been taken. As you have suggested that the good paper, it takes around time of around 6 to 12 months from the time the author is communicating and it has been accepted. But many of the times it happens that the journal people, they want to change everything according to the pattern of what they want. Or many of the times it has been communicated to the students or maybe to the researchers that you change this, you again rewrite this, and many of the times it happens. So can you please comment upon this and throw some light upon this, because at that time the patience is at stake.
Sir, if somebody is pursuing research, patience is the first and foremost requirement.
Yes.
So if you don't have patience, I advise that person that please try some other field. Research is not for those who don't have patience. But you're right, sometimes journals demand this and that and this change or that change. Believe me, the journals or the editorial staff don't enjoy such things. Actually, they demands the changes as per the guidelines and as per the template of that journal.
Yeah.
The reputation of that journal
exactly
is only because of their guidelines, because of presentation, because of their templates. So if they vary from any of the parameter of the manuscript, they will be out from the indexing agencies. The indexing agencies like Web of Science, Scopus, and ABCD, XYZ, whatever indexing agencies are there, they will reject their publication to index. So they cannot afford to deviate from their guidelines, their templates. That's why they are so cruel, they are so rigid, they are so demanding.
Yeah.
So it's my request to the audience listening me, the students especially, because students have low patience. Guides and professors, because they are experienced, they have a lot of patience. But scholars normally they don't have much patience.
Exactly.
So I would request them, budding researcher or students and research scholars, to please train yourself for such activities. You will find many times that you have already invested so many time, and after 5 months you get a mail some fine day that your manuscript has been rejected. Then what else you do? You please take it as a positive step, that during these 5 months, 6 months, you must thank that editor that by his efforts or by efforts of his team, your manuscript is so much polished, so much corrected.
Yes.
Right? So much efforts you have given there, so much practice you have given yourself. That is the takeaway. सो आपदा को अवसर बनाना चाहिए. हमारे प्राइम मिनिस्टर कहते हैं कि अगर तो रिजेक्शन इज ऑल्सो ए कॉम्प्लीमेंट. रिजेक्शन इज ऑल्सो गिविंग यू एन अपॉर्चुनिटी टू करेक्ट योरसेल्फ, टू डू मोर वर्क, टू पुट मोर हार्ड वर्क. सो बी पेशेंट.
It was indeed a privilege to have eminent guest speaker amongst us from around the globe, and it is the inaugural talk
Wonderful,
was
wonderful.
very, very insightful, full of information by all the eminent speakers amongst us. So I personally, on behalf of Thakur College of Science and Commerce and Department of IT and IQAC, thank you all the eminent speakers for sparing your valuable time, and you are operating from the different time zone like Mr. Vikas Sharma and Mr. Ashfaq Parvez, different time zone from India. So we are so thankful to you, and these sketches are just a token of appreciation which has been sketched by team of students of IT.
Wonderful. Wonderful.
They were very happy to have all you there, and they are watching you on Zoom and on YouTube live. So thank you so much.